Olá, sejam bem-vindos a mais uma webconferência do EDH. Meu nome é Paulo Del Bianco e hoje eu estou aqui com a professora Graciela e com a Sumi, da Body Red Method. A gente já vai colocar elas na tela, eu só tenho algumas poucas informações antes para vocês. Bom, primeiro, informações da coordenação. Essa webconferência fica disponível para lista de presença, tá bom? Então, temos lista de presença na descrição do vídeo, peço que todos vocês assinem, tá bom? E um informe da UFABC. Nós estamos, já que estamos com todas as questões das tragédias no Rio Grande do Sul, a gente está com pontos de coleta para doação de materiais, roupas, tá bom? Então, se vocês estiverem perto da UFABC ou de algum lugar e quiserem doar, a gente está recebendo, tá bom? Então, eu agradeço muito a professora Graciela, que está aqui hoje com a gente, e a Sumi, também, da Body Red Method. Eu lembro vocês que nossa conversa hoje é em inglês, então as legendas automáticas devem estar funcionando. Se elas não tiverem, eu dou um jeito, tá bom? Mas não se preocupem, a gente vai ter tradução. Professora Graciela, com você.
Olá, boa noite. Primeiro uma palavrinha em português, antes que a gente comece a nossa conversa em inglês, tá? E sem mais, eu vou passar a palavra então para a Sumi. Opa! Hi, Sumi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me over.
It's a pleasure and an honor to have you here with us today because it's so important.
Pleasure is all mine.
Yeah, it's so important, the presence, your presence, and the presence of very real diversity people in our course, and I hope we have a lovely chat, okay? So
Thank you.
I would like
Yeah.
you to introduce yourself a
Mhm.
little bit, especially how
Sure.
you got into the body ready method where you are.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much for having me again. I am Sumi. I am in India, but I work for a company called bodyreadymethod.com, which is based in the United States of America. How I got into this company, I have been here about more than 3 years, almost 4 years now. And how I got into this was before I got into BRM, I was a birth doula. Okay, I started my work, but before being a birth doula, I have a master's degree in psychology. So when I was a student, I really wanted to do something for the people. Like I wanted to think for the women, especially. But things happened, and I could not pursue my field of psychology any further, and that brought me into being a doula. Being a doula, basically, a doula is a person who supports a pregnant person when she is, pregnant, when they're in labor, during birth, and also for breastfeeding. So it's just a support person. They give support in different ways, physical, mental, just by their presence and all of that. So I was a doula, and I was having a lot of my clients who were pregnant, but they were having questions that I did not have answers to, and neither did their doctors. They were asking about questions like pelvis pain. Like, I have pelvis pain. What should I do? I say, ask your doctor. Doctor is like, oh, it's normal in pregnancy. That's nothing you can do about it. But I was curious, like this should not be, maybe it's common, but I don't think it's normal to be in so much pain and you do not do anything about it. So that is why I started studying about physiology of the pregnant body, the physical changes that it goes through that no one tells us. Oh, pregnant, a belly grows, the baby comes out, boom, everything, you're done. There is so much going on in the pregnant body, and that is what brought me to BRM. So I did my certification with BRM first. I was so interested. as soon as they put up a position for
Yeah.
hire, I
So
was like, yeah, I'm here.
yeah, this is interesting for us to clarify a little bit what BRM is. What is this
Mhm.
method? Could you say something for us, please?
Yeah, sure. So Body Ready Method was founded by Lindsay McCoy, who could not be here. I'm so sorry about that. She was really sick
Yeah.
today, so I filled in for her. So she was supposed to be here.
Yeah.
She is, by education, she was an exercise physiologist who studied the science of exercise, basically. But then after she had her baby, went into being a doula and supporting other moms who were going through what she went through. So as she combined her knowledge of being a doula or being a birth professional with knowledge of exercise science, she understood, okay, there are ways you can change your body to be more suitable for birth. There are things you can do which will make your birth easier for you, which are not being talked about. So that is how Body Ready Method was born. It's a method, it's a training, it's basically a method, and based on those methods we have trainings for birth professionals, we have doctors, midwives, physiotherapists, physical therapists, yoga teachers, different people from different professions have come in and taken this training, because this basically is a method where you talk about the physiology or the physical aspect of the pregnancy,
Yeah.
how
It,
the tissues that are changed, the muscles, the joints, how are they changed in pregnancy,
yeah.
and how it
And
impacts our birth.
yeah, for us as a woman, no,
Mm-hmm.
when we are very young, we keep questioning ourselves. Oh my God, one day I will have a baby. How this baby is gonna go through me? This is a question that every girl thinks about.
Right.
It's very, uh, and we have this idea that the pelvis is a very uh, hard or
Mm-hmm.
not moving structure. Okay.
Right.
And what do you think about this through the lens of the BRM? How BRM see
Well,
this? No?
as you know, BRM for a pelvis is a bone with multiple joints. We have three joints. So this is a pelvis. I'm sorry, I don't have a pelvis model with me right now. So imagine if this is a pelvis and the baby is going to come through from here. The baby is, we have one joint in the front and we have two joints in the back. And like any joints, those joints move and they might be able to and they might be able to, there are muscles around those joints that might be able to stretch. So the pelvis is definitely not a single bone like a lot of us think. You're right, Graciela. As you know, when you don't know about pelvis, you this is one solid bone, and somehow the baby needs to navigate or go through it to be born. And maybe it's too small. Like I'm sure every girl who got pregnant hears at least one story from a friend or a family member or a coworker or someone on the street telling her, "Oh my God, I had a cesarean because my pelvis was too small."
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we at BRM do not believe that. Pelvises
Mm,
can be small, but it's not as common as we think it is, because our pelvis is not a fixed bone. It changes shape. It can change during labor, during pregnancy. There are so many different factors that come into to shape the pelvis the way it is. So
And
it's
the
definitely not
yeah,
one bone.
yes, and is attached now to all the
Yeah,
whole system. So I think it was really beautiful to see the whole system that it was presented in this method, and not as you
right.
said, you this is I don't know. I would like to ask you, why did you got so uh, interest about body ready method being a psychologist. No, there is a reason for that. No.
Yeah, totally. It's our and we believe that the body is a whole. You cannot say, oh, it's not just about the pelvis. Even Graciela, even for the lower back, if someone has lower back pain, we say there is a problem in the spine. There could be an issue with the spine. There could be an issue with her posture. It could be an issue with her upper back, how she is holding. It could be just simply an issue with how she is holding her baby. There are so many different things. We think the whole connected. The pelvis is not independent, and just doing something to the pelvis might work. It might not work. Sometimes it's mysterious that something is in the pelvis, but fixing something on the upper back would suddenly solve that problem in the pelvis, right? So we look at this, it's called biotensegrity. BRM, we call it biotensegrity, the idea that everything is, connected. We are one whole body. Everything,
Yeah, but
translates into something else.
yeah, and this is so important for the doula. No, I'm a doula too, and we tend
Yeah,
to have this whole
totally.
vision what is going on with the pregnant woman, and even if every birth is different, even for that
Hmm.
woman from past birth to the present birth,
Totally.
uh, we have
Totally.
some we are humans, no, and we have sometimes
Yeah.
in birth we have a state of going through, as you say, it's not only the baby that navigates, but the woman and the doula can
Yeah.
navigate together with
Totally.
this woman. So this is something
Totally.
interesting because we have in this big world that we are living a lot of differences, no, or diversity, no, and I
Yeah.
keep wondering how the team of Body Ready Method uh, join women from all over the world, and we are joined together for the same language, the language of the body. What do you have to say to us about this?
See,
How
I
does it
think
feel for
it
you to work in such a diversity company? It's incredible.
it's incredible. It's more incredible, and I'm so thankful that I'm here in this age where I'm able to work for a company that is right across the world, and I have never seen them. They have never seen me. But our company, surprisingly, is not just me. We have people from all over the different countries. We have someone in Egypt. We have someone in Argentina. We have someone in Bangladesh, which is near India, but it's a different country.
Yes.
So we have people. We have someone in Europe, right? We have someone in the UK. We had someone from Finland before. We have quite a few members from South Africa as well. So basically, it's it's a learning experience in itself. You know, inform
Perfect.
happens to one of my colleagues' kids in the US, and I give her a tip from my Indian traditional medicine. Apply honey to help or something like that. So it's very interesting and very much fun to for this this mixture of cultures where we are always learning. So if you come in from with an open mind and with this idea that we are here to learn, that is very much fun. But if you are someone who's like, no, 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 my culture and my tradition and my ways are the best ways, and everyone else is like, then it would not be a fun experience. But thankfully, everyone in this company intentionally just about being accepting of diverse cultures. You know, I am a Muslim. We have Ramadan, we have Eid, we have different festivals than the rest of the company. I have never heard from anyone in the company say, sorry, you can only take days off during Christmas because this is our birthday. They're like, no, this is your time. Like, take your time off, and you're not expected to work during your festival time. So these are like small things, but it matters a lot when you're trying to be saying something like, "Oh, we are, inclusive. We are inclusive of diversity," and those things is very different than actually applying it, right? When I was applying for the position, I was very clear that I'm gonna wear a hijab. I'm a person who covers. Is that okay with you? And they're like, of course. Like, why is that? We want what is inside your head. We don't care what is outside, right? So this is something that you need to apply, and these are like little things which. Like I am covered sometimes when I am meeting with just women, I don't cover my head. Okay, but if one of my other colleagues are in a public place and they know there is a man that's going to walk behind them, they notify me. They say, "I'm in a Starbucks. If you want to keep your camera off, please keep your camera off because I see you have not covered your head and there might be other men around you," which is I think very appreciated from me. I appreciate that a lot because they don't have to do that, right? They could just say, "I didn't know who someone was going to walk behind." Like, why is that my problem?
And
Right?
this introduced to me something really special, a issue, a subject that is really special because I really think that this diversity that goes around body ready method, it brings back really the good sense that women used to have to help each other.
Totally.
Okay. And
Totally.
what opened my eyes when I was studying to know the
Mhm.
body ready method, and uh, there is kind of a system, no, that say to us that the doctor is more important, and the doctor is a male, no,
Yeah.
and there is a whole hank of knowledge. And when we see through the method, how the method approach every single part of the technology and give to us women a special way to understand and to see the diversity and what we are equals to other women in the process. This is such a gift, no? It's
Totally. I
such a
get it.
gift.
And it's very important as a birth worker, especially. You can
Yeah.
never, like, you can, but most of the birth workers are not like, I'm only going to serve this population. Usually, when you're a birth worker, you would be approached by people from different cultures, especially if you live in a place like, in the
Yeah.
United States. So it's very important to be not just accepting, but also have a knowledge and awareness of other people's cultures, right?
Yes.
How they do things, how the things that need to be respected when you're supporting, let's say, a Chinese mom. She's going to have different practices than, a white mom who's going to have different practices versus an African mom who's going to have different practices, right? So not only you need to be saying, oh, I'm inclusive, you just need to be also respectful
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
of other people's cultures and their traditions and their ways of doing things, and all of those things. That brings us back to also even the bodies. And from my
Yes.
observation, an African woman's body is very different from a white
Right.
woman's body. Is very
Yeah.
different from a Chinese woman's, an Asian, like,
Yes.
they have different bodies, different structures, different postures, right? So we need to know that there is no one method or one way which will be applied to all of these people.
Yeah, because there used to be an idea, no, including this part that the pelvis was a hard and not moving structure. There used to be an idea of four types of pelvis. And
Yeah.
could you explain for us? This is an old idea from the 18th century
Mhm.
to the beginning of the 20th century that stay with us until now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
No, so
we
it
have.
causes this impression that including is a male vision of the women body. That woman can be a good woman for having babies. That woman, no, because she's
Mm,
very skinny, straight.
yeah.
So could you explain for us these visions and these models of seeing birth in the pelvis for us, please?
Right. So the biggest problem I can say is the issue that they think that pelvis is like one fixed entity. Second problem is that in, like you said, in earlier science in biology, they classified the pelvis into four different shapes. I'm not going
Mhm.
to go through all the details of the shapes,
Okay.
but there is one of the four shapes that they say, the gyneco pelvis, that they say this is the perfect female pelvis for birth, right? If someone has this shape of pelvis, it's perfect. She's gonna have um an easy labor, or
It's
she's gonna have
labor.
a normal
Lovely.
birth, normal
Yeah.
birth, right?
Normal
But the
birth.
issue with this study and the whole philosophy is that who studied these four shapes of the pelvis? It was a white person, right? And according to them, the women who were having easy births was having this shape of pelvis, but those were all white women. That does not mean that an Indian woman who does not have this shape of pelvis will not have an easier birth, right? But that is something we see. Like if you use your common sense, you see the whole bone structure of an Asian woman is very different from a bone structure of an African woman. How can you think that these two women are gonna have the same shape of the pelvis,
Yeah.
right? So the ideal pelvis shape, which even now doctors believe and follow, that if you have this shape, you're gonna have a natural birth. If you don't have, oh, you have a different shaped pelvis,
Yes. Still
maybe you're
believe
going to
that.
have a cesarean. Yes,
And they
they're still
measure
believing that.
us. There are some
Right,
medicals, they are entitled to measure and to have an
right,
idea of the measures, but they cannot put a barrier because
right.
of this. No?
Totally. See, a perfect shape would be, a good shape, like a roundish shape. But some pelvises have less space front to back and more space side to side. So what? We have moves in BR. Not, I would not say they're exclusive to BRM, but we share in BRM that there are things you can do to create more space front to back. So now you have more space. There are some pelvises which are side to side, they're smaller, but front to back there is more space, like this. So we have moves, we have techniques, we have positions which can create space like this, side to side. It's not a problem at all if you have the right tools and the right knowledge also on how to deal with it. So instead of saying I'm too busy to get knowledge on these things, I'm going to just classify you as, oh, not an ideal pelvis. Oh, not too small pelvis. Oh, the baby cannot move, or you're too short, or you're too skinny to have a baby vaginally.
Or too
You know,
young, or
oh
too
yeah, you're
old.
too young, or too fat, or
So whatever.
yeah,
And it's interesting how we give away our right to know so easily, to know our body. And
totally.
from thousands of years, uh, the human beings have been born. Okay. And there is a
Yeah,
lot of knowledge in many cultures. Uh,
totally.
they were put in a box of cultural, and I totally am impressed how body ready method can put this link between what is in this box of the cultural only, that is not
Hmm.
given the proper name, that is knowledge or wisdom.
Right.
Okay. And taking it out, for people really understand what's going on and have the assistance of the medical knowledge, which
Right.
means for me, I don't know if you agree, that a woman used to have a lot of freedom to give birth and not tied to a bed. So
Totally.
is really is really a challenge for the hospital, for example, to have all this freedom. I understand for the side,
Yeah.
but it's really important that we can do a lot of stuff even in the medical, but it would be lovely if we really could have assisted births, no, with all the
Right.
freedom, no?
Yeah, totally. See, Graciela, also, I need to, this is something that is very interesting to me, like I said, because a lot of our practices, if you look at ancient, a lot of cultures with ancient medicine or medieval medicine or older medicine, you see a lot of those practices are very similar to each other,
Yeah.
which was a bit surprising because we thought earlier they were very isolated from each other. But you see something in the Mexican culture which is very
Yeah.
similar to something in the Arab culture that the Arab women are doing. I have seen very similar to the Indian culture, which is, a
Yes.
lot of Indian traditional medicine practices are very similar to the Chinese medicine practices. So when you understand the body, a lot of times I have seen things like in our culture which I can now understand, right? For example, my grandmother, once she was sharing a story about her birth, and she said, "Oh, you girls have it so easy. Now you can just lay on the bed and give birth. Earlier, it was so hard that there was a rope that was tied, and we had to pull on that rope and we had to squat to give birth. It was so hard." So, this is all I think also believe that, this is colonialism or the whitewashing of
Yes.
traditional practices, that all traditional practices are like, what do you say, uncultured or backwards, and the way white people do it or the way a certain society does it is the only correct or the cultured way to do it, right? So this is
The,
something that everyone around the world have been influenced because of colonialism. Is there is a right way to birth, proper, you lay in bed, you don't make any noise, and if there is any difficulty there's always a doctor to like do a cesarean and help you give birth.
yeah,
So
and this gives for us, sorry to interrupt you, to
no, no,
woman
no,
a
go
very
ahead.
powerful feeling, no?
Yeah,
In all
totally.
societies.
Exactly. I say when you're looking for, let's say, when you're looking for a school for your child, you you don't go to the first school that you see across the street and say, "Oh, I see the school all the time, so it might be a good school." You ask around people, right? You read reviews online. Even when I buy a fridge, I recently bought a vacuum cleaner last week, and I read all the reviews and which is more powerful, which is the longest duration that I can use it without servicing, without having to clean the bag, those things. But when you're pregnant, you put all of your power into the hands of the doctor. You're like, "Oh, the doctor knows best." I never said the shopkeeper knows the best, and I don't go and ask the shopkeeper, "You tell me which vacuum," because you never trust the shopkeeper. You think the shopkeeper is trying to sell you the cheapest piece for the highest price. And even if they do ask you, "Buy this vacuum," you would be skeptical. "Oh, I'm sure there is some catch. Maybe it's not working properly. That's why he's asking me to buy that. No, I'll buy the other one," you would say, right?
Yes,
You would
yes,
never
yes,
go to any other place and say, "You tell me which is best for me." Usually we have something in mind, we have some knowledge, we have some awareness.
yeah,
But when a woman is pregnant, a lot of times she's just expected to put all her eggs in the doctor's basket, put her shut off her mind, not get any knowledge, not get any awareness about anything, just blindly trust the doctor and whatever they are saying, which I do
yeah,
not blame the doctor. I'm not a person who would say, "Oh, all doctors are bad." I do not believe that. But
yeah,
I say the doctor is looking at 200 patients every week. How are they supposed to think the best for you? They barely know you. They don't know your
yeah,
lifestyle. How would they recommend nutrition and exercise and this and that? They see you for 5 minutes. They don't have time. Poor
yeah,
doctors, they're also overworking, right?
yes.
By the hospital management, they have to look
Yeah,
at least 20 patients every day. They cannot be
yeah,
counseling you or giving you advice. And I think that is the responsibility of the pregnant parents, like the husband and the wife, or however the family is, they need to be aware that even though doctor's intention might be good, they're not always sharing the best information with you. They're not always doing what is best for you, because they also need to look at what is best for them, what is best for the hospital administration, what is best financially. There's so many different aspects they're looking at,
Yeah,
right?
that is, and this is the good thing, how when we understand more about the body, and even the father of the kid is interested on this,
Right.
on the birth, is we have a saying, that it takes a village, for a
To
baby
raise a
to be
child.
to raise a
Yes,
child. So is
totally.
responsibility of everyone, no? So this is a value, no, that we need to understand, that of course we have a lot of good things that can help us, that we buy, but we cannot leave the values out of this, no, that we have a lot of diversity because of our history, because of where we were born, how we were taught, but
Totally.
we are still human. And to be a human, there is a lot of prerogatives, how we are born, no, and how the
Yeah,
love that is embracing that kid. No, so this, I hope it will never goes away, and I really hope that people like you and all the people that are going through, investigating, learning what birth is and how we can help those women to have better births, not without pain. No, but this is a trick subject. We can leave this for
no,
another chat. Because it's a journey. I will
totally.
leave this. It's a journey,
Yeah,
and is not something that we're gonna buy a painkiller and it's gonna resolve. And is more than cultural. Is more than biology. It's really uh,
combination of a
spiritual,
lot of
religious
things.
experience
Yeah,
of something very inner from the woman that is having birth, and this will never be dissolved by
totally.
goods that we buy. Okay. So,
Totally, I
what
get it.
else? What,
I
yeah,
uh,
what
I
else
totally agree
would
with
you
you.
like? Yeah,
Yeah, I would
what else
say
would you like
on
to
the
say?
same lines that, like we were talking about ancient people and from the practices, cultural practices before, in most of the cultures where people lived in a society, women birth was a area, and all women in the family were somehow exposed to the birth in some way. Either they were helping someone who was in labor, someone was something, someone was giving clothes, someone was breaking seeds. So there was the women of the family. When someone, they're all present, they looked at birth. And now women are not exposed to anyone's birth, right? It's like, my birth would be the first birth that I attend, or I come close to a pregnant woman who's giving birth. So people saying, oh, but earlier times I did not need all this knowledge and these techniques and these positions. Now suddenly why you're teaching all these things? It is because this was innate wisdom and knowledge which people used to pass to one another, but we had no one to like who could pass that information to us. Like that information was intentionally suppressed. That knowledge was intentionally suppressed and criminalized and illegalized so that
Yes.
the other paradigm would be more powerful, right? So we do not have that innate wisdom. We have it. Usually we say if a woman has never seen anyone giving birth, she would never lie on her back intuitively to give birth. Okay, she would be upright. But
Yeah.
almost all of us have seen someone on TV, right? In movies, who lying on her back and screaming. So they know, oh, they think that is the way to give birth. So in their subconscious, now they're registered that this is how everyone is supposed to give birth. So it's not just losing our innate wisdom, it's gaining or reclaiming what knowledge our ancestors used to have that unfortunately was taken away from us for someone else's gain, right?
Yeah,
So there is a
and
lot of yeah, go ahead.
people tend to attach natural to old or to ancestral, and it's not the
Yeah, to
case. So when we
uncultured.
have to uncultured, when we have tools like that that have this whole understanding of the body and what the woman is feeling. So this is true knowledge, no? So it's
Totally.
not
I
ancestral in the culture.
unfortunately I know of a lot of doctors who have personally said, surprisingly, that they have never attended or witnessed a physiological birth. Okay, they
Oh,
say, yeah, they say, in our practice we have, apart from someone who accidentally gave birth in a car,
yeah.
right?
Oh,
So physiological birth is, at birth is a physiological event that sometimes need a medical intervention, not the other way around, right? Birth is not always a medical event that accidentally it happens naturally, whatever,
yeah.
right? It's the other way around. It is a physiological event that sometimes, yes, doctors are needed, cesareans are life saving, right? But
Yes.
just as soon as the mom goes in, giving her all the medical interventions, induction, pitocin, this
Yeah.
and that, because, those are available in the hospital,
Mhm.
what we believe in. We think sometimes it's just a matter of a small manipulation that is required. Maybe there's just like a tissue or a muscle that's too tight that's not allowing the baby to come in. Just we release that with some exercise or some tool, with some movement, it's going to be all smooth, right? So instead of using medicine and using force to push the baby down, regardless of what is happening in the tissues. Because remember, the pelvis is not just the bone, it's also the muscles and the ligaments and the tissues surrounding the pelvis that shapes the pelvis.
Yeah.
If the pelvis is in
And
a
the
perfect
tensions. Yeah.
like shape, but there is too much tension in the muscle, the pelvis still would not be able to open up for the baby. So maybe the pelvis is perfect size, but it's the muscle, because the mom was never showed how to release those muscles, because her lifestyle was such that she, her muscles got tight because she was sitting too long, she was working on a
Yes.
desk job. It could so many different things.
Yeah, that's correct. So, thank you so much for
You're
having
welcome.
this lovely conversation, Sumi.
Thank
And
you so much, Graciela. I
it's
really
it
appreciate it.
yeah, it was really good, and I think for our students it's gonna be precious because we are here just giving ideas for them to construct
Hmm.
a better practice for
Totally.
them in the schools, and they are dealing with young girls, young boys, and they have sometimes they can have listen to us. They can have some idea or sometimes a better word to say in a special moment
Hmm.
that will make those people to think about this and reach better things for this. So I'm really appreciated. It was lovely. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So now we
This
just
knowledge is not
maybe
just for your own self, you know. We can
yes,
just share it
that's
with your friends and with your family members, and for your own self with your daughters. This is something that we should intentionally pass around.
yeah, that's great. So Paulo, maybe we can open for questions.
Yeah, we just let me find it here, just a second.
Você pode falar em português e eu rapidinho posso colocar para ela em inglês.
Claro, claro. A primeira questão é da Gabriela. Ela quer, ela, bom, eu vou sintetizar aqui, tá bom? Mas ela disse que durante o parto da filha dela, ela teve muito medo e ela não teve um bom atendimento com o médico. Então, é exatamente essa questão o como fazer, quais caminhos trilhar e por onde você procura outros tipos de opção, que você se sinta mais tranquila, que você se sinta melhor.
Yeah, the Gabriela, she was talking to us by a chat and saying that when she had her baby, she was really in fear and she didn't have a good assistance in the hospital. And her question is, what are the venues or what we can do to reach out for more information?
For more information, see, Body Ready Method, we have two different offerings. One is we have exercise for people, Gabriella, who are either pregnant or planning for a baby. We have an exercise program called Body Ready Pregnancy, where you go through pregnancy every day. You go through pregnancy and exercise every day. So it's basically an exercise program which will prepare your body for birth. But next, we also have a program called Body Ready Birth, which focuses on giving you knowledge about how to prepare your pelvis, how to prepare your mind for birth. Okay, so we have this program online, but we also have a lot of teachers who are teaching this class in person. You can look at readymethod.com, and maybe I'll share the link with Paulo, and he can share it with you all. Where you just go on the website and you look for in a place, you will to see all the teachers who are offering this class, who are trained us, and they're offering it to pregnant couples, the husband and wife, or however you want to go, is going to support you. It could be your mother, friend, your sister. You take this class, they teach you how to support during labor and during birth, and that could be also very helpful. So now coming back a bit, just I would like to add about fear in birth. Usually, I believe, like coming from a background of psychology, man or a human is always going to be fearful and afraid of the unknown, right? If I always say this in my birth classes, if I am pushed into a room, a dark room, I don't know where is what, something is going to fall on my head, I'm going to bump into something, and I'm going to be scared. But if I go into a dark room that is my bedroom, I'm not going to be scared because I know where the bed is, where the cupboard is, I know where the dress. I'm not going to bump into anything. No one is going to jump on me, right? So birth is like that. It's mysterious, but if you have knowledge, you're going to be less scared. If you know what's going to happen, the doctor is bringing a medicine, you know what the medicine is for, it's going to be less scary than, doctor nurses coming needles and you don't know what they're going to do to you. So knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the more you educate about birth. There are simple books, there are a lot of resources now on the internet which will educate you about, in simple terms, about pregnancy and birth. You don't have to become a doctor or a midwife. So the more you educate yourself, the less scarier it will be when you're going into labor and about to give birth.
Ok. Vamos lá, Paulo.
Temos mais uma pergunta que é do José Renato. E ele, sintetizando, teve um caso de uma adolescente que engravidou, e que ele dava aula, né, que ele era professor, e ele pergunta qual seria o primeiro contato correto com essa mulher que está em desenvolvimento, mas que também deve estar com medo. Como faz?
We have a very intense question, let's say this way, because it's a male teacher that he had been through the experience of having a girl, a very young girl, a teenager, that got pregnant. And he wants to know what would be the best approach or attention to give to this girl as a teacher.
Okay, that's That's a perfect question, and I really appreciate the teacher for being so concerned about the student. Like, we need more teachers like you. So there are two things. One, we need to understand that pregnancy is not a disease and it does not have to be treated that way. It's just a state of our being. How we have various stages in life as a human, we go through various stages. Pregnancy is one of them. But keeping that in mind, the pregnant woman is not like, a teenage girl who's not pregnant. There's going to be aches and pains. She could be struggling with things like memory, because pregnancy brain is a real thing. There have been many studies which showed the cognitive development or the cognitive functioning of a pregnant woman's brain is not similar to someone who's not pregnant. She will be forgetful. She will be moody, hormonal. She might be, either getting into fights, or she might be getting into, too much. Like, she would be withdrawing herself too much and getting lonely because of the hormones, the mood. She's going to be in a lot of pain. There is a lot of pregnancy is a burden, right? No matter how you say it, oh, it's blissful and this and that. On the physical body, it's a heavy load, right? So there is a lot of pain. So just asking her what she needs, I think that would be perfect. Like, does she need to, skip going somewhere, like on a field trip? Maybe she doesn't want to go because she's too tired, or maybe she wants to take some extra time doing her homework because she was too tired, because the being pregnant requires the same energy. There has been actually a study about it, as running a marathon. So every single day your body is running a marathon. So look at it from that lens. This girl is going to be permanently tired, right? This girl is going to be a bit moody, and this,
she needs to
yeah,
get up and stretch.
right. She cannot sit still in one place like other students.
Yes.
Maybe she needs to walk. Maybe she has heartburn and she cannot eat. Maybe she has eaten nothing because she has nausea. So many different things that come into factor. But the simplest thing is asking what she needs. Like, do you need, not imposing and not just expecting that she will behave well or she will be like other students because she's just pregnant. What's the big deal, right? So if she says she cannot do something, do not automatically assume that she's being trouble or she is being using pregnancy for her advantage. Just ask her, like, is there something you need? Maybe she just wants to go and wash her face and come back. Who knows? So I think that's because we cannot assume. Some people's pregnancies are so easy, but some women's pregnancies are very, very hard. So hard that they never want to get pregnant again because it's so traumatizing, and every day is a pain, and every day is a very difficult journey.
Yeah. Que mais, Paulo?
Temos mais uma pergunta da Maria, e ela está questionando sobre como a gente trata sobre as mudanças de corpo com os meninos e com as meninas abaixo de 10 anos, nessa faixa etária que é um pouquinho, que você tem que falar, mas você também não entrega tudo.
Okay. It is another teacher. She is asking how we can talk to kids from 9 to 10.
Yes.
9 to 10 years old, where they are having all the changes in the body, how we can approach, because we have this topic on the curriculum, as I said to you before we were talking, that covers all the transformations of the body. Okay. And one of the topics is pregnancy. So what do you think that we could talk for kids on this age about pregnancy or the change that happens in the body,
Yeah, well, I think
it's an opinion question. Okay.
Yeah, totally. My opinion that it's like I said before, it's a physiological event. It's like any other stage of a human's life, and it should be stated that way without any biases or without any negative or positive or judgmental vibes to it, without any, connotations, without any extra, opinions on, oh, I think, because it's just a physiological function of the body. That's our bodies are designed to do that, right? uh, Regardless of whether you believe in God or not, science made it. Whoever made your body, or however your body was made, it was designed to go through this stage, right? So this is how it happens. It's a scientific, or like any other, like the digestive system, right, or the respiratory system. This is just a system that has its functions, and I think you should approach it from a very scientific and non-biased way, so that people, especially female students, they don't go in with their bias that, oh, it's a bad thing, or it's a very difficult thing, or because sometimes you have that in the back of your head, you don't think about it, but it starts to surface when you actually are pregnant, right? All your subconscious negative uh, uh,
Yeah.
thoughts that you had associated with you in your head because of
Yeah.
this. So interestingly, I knew of a girl who was very, when I was a doula, I was also working as, a breastfeeding counselor. So I had a girl who was very adamant that she wanted to breastfeed. And what she shared with me, her baby was not willing to breastfeed. She was struggling a lot. So she said, no, when I was in grade 6 or so, we learned about breastfeeding in school, and how it's beneficial for the baby. And since then, I I had made up my mind that every baby that I'm going to have breastfeed. So this is something that I've been thinking about from childhood. So I want to do this because I know how good it is. So you might think grade 6 students, they will never remember that when they actually become moms, but that's not the case, right? It depends upon the teacher. She said we had a visitor, like, someone from outside, they came to speak about health, and they mentioned breastfeeding and how it's beneficial for the baby. And since then, I had determined that I am going to breastfeed, do this. So always think that you're talking to people who are going to be adults, who are going to take this information into real, right? It's not just that math that they just
Yeah.
study at school and forget.
It is a tricky, because as you are a psychologist, is a tricky way. We can never say something in general, and we can never classify stuff, because it's the self,
Totally.
is the person in growth that will have to take care of this.
Hmm.
Do you allow me to say something in Portuguese? Okay.
Sure, go
É,
ahead.
ela deu uma. I will just summarize what you said in Portuguese because it's very important, ok? Ela deu
Hmm.
uma dica muito importante sobre como a gente não deve ser generalista, né? E que talvez, né? Eu vou depois reportar isso em inglês, né? A principal ideia é realmente você trabalhar com as crianças, né? Nesse sentido de perguntar a elas e trabalhar com essa memória que talvez elas já têm, porque às vezes tem um irmão que é maior, quer dizer, trabalhar com a opinião delas. Now I'm gonna talk in English what I talk in Portuguese. So I think, as you said for the previous question, the most important thing is to ask how people feel. It's the same
Totally.
thing about the child, no? Is to ask how they feel and to work with the memories, what they are living, and for them to grow inside what they want it to be or what they think they might be, and then to that work it out how diverse we are, how we
Mhm.
can be transforming in life, no, that we have this. I like the idea of design. I truly believe on this too, but sometimes it's important in the school to keep a little bit more neutral, as you said, to keep more scientific, no,
Yes.
and understand that uh, maybe we see the human as a machine, no, or as something that can act and is ready, but we are always getting into transformation as anything in life, as anything in nature. Everything in nature transforms. So it's sometimes more is a simple way to approach this things. Okay.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Next question, Paulo.
A gente finalizou com essas 3 até agora. Não chegou mais nenhuma até o momento. Então.
Okay, so we don't have any more questions, Sumi.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
I really would like to thank you one more time. Okay. And you know
You're
that
welcome.
this will be recorded. You can share too with other
Sure.
people that you would like to share. And
Okay,
I thank the
perfect.
students that attended a web conference too. Né? Obrigado aos estudantes que estiveram com a gente e por terem feito essas questões valiosíssimas, né? Foram questões excelentes. Então,
Thank you all for having me. Thank you for the students listening to me, bearing with me for an hour, and for interacting and asking the questions. I really enjoyed chatting with you through Paulo.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Paulo?
Have a nice
Thank
day.
you so much, Sumi. Just one warning for our students in Portuguese. Bom, professora Graciela, você acha que a gente faz essa segunda parte da aula agora com os alunos, num segundo link?
No segundo link, sim, claro.
Perfeitamente. Então, eu vou encerrar essa webconferência, eu vou deixar para todos aqui no nosso chat o link da minha sala pessoal no RNP. Eu peço para que todo mundo entre, tá bom? Já está aqui no nosso chat. Vocês vão entrar com câmera e com microfone, tá bom? Então, eu vou ensinar brevemente aqui. Sumi, Graciela, I'll make you both disappear. Thank you so much, and I'll just keep speaking with them.
Sumi somewhere.
Bye.
Bye.
Bom, então, só para ensinar vocês a entrar nessa plataforma, que é a RNP, que a gente vai utilizar agora para fazer uma segunda parte da nossa webconferência, onde vocês vão poder conversar com a professora. Eu vi, acho que chegou uma outra perguntinha no final, que eu não tinha levado, mas a gente pode tratar disso lá também, tá bom? Então, eu vou apresentar a minha tela aqui para vocês. Só um segundo. Vamos à tela cheia. Aqui. Muito bem. Essa daqui, ó, esse daqui é o link que eu passei para vocês, tá bom? Então, aqui comigo já está logado. Então, eu vou deslogar só para vocês verem como é, tá bom? Porque é uma plataforma que às vezes dá um pouquinho de trabalho a primeira vez que vocês vão entrar, tá bom? Eu vou fazer assim, eu vou até entrar numa guia anônima aqui. Acho que vocês ainda estão me vendo, não estão? Estão me vendo sim. Ó, então, eu vou entrar até numa guia anônima, porque daí sai da minha senha, e daí vocês podem ver. Quando vocês colocarem o link, vai estar exatamente assim para vocês, tá bom? Então, vocês utilizem o link que eu mandei na descrição, e vocês vão aqui entrar como convidado, tá bom? Então, é só colocar o nome de vocês, o e-mail. Eu vou colocar o meu da UFABC só para facilitar, mas pode ser o pessoal também, tá bom? E vocês clicam aqui em entrar, e vocês vão ser direcionados para minha sala, tá bom? Daí eu vou permitir a entrada de todo mundo que for entrando, e a gente vai conversando lá com a professora Graciela. A gente vai dar uns 5, 10 minutinhos para todo mundo ir entrando, tá bom? E eu agradeço bastante a presença da professora Graciela e da Sumi.